Hey, Intermodal Trucker here, and it's time to go cut some wood. So let's get on with it. This is my brother's saw. It's still 310. It's not quite as big as mine, but I'll use it to cut my saw because my bar is pinched. Well, now I really boogered up. I got two saws pinched. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tractor. I'm going to come underneath that tree and lift up on it, and that should free everything up. My brother's sod is sitting out because I got a funny feeling I might need it again. The tree's got a lot of pressure on it. Really? I need to weld the hooks on here. Well, there we go. We got it all pulled out of there. We got it all topped off. There's a lot of big stuff left in there, but like I said before, elm trees, they're real fibrous, and when you try to split them, it's just a pain in the butt. I'm going to come back in here next winter when this freezes off, and I'm just going to start cutting down there and just cut all this out. This whole thing, I'm going to cut this all out. Because it's just, this was just put in here as a drainage ditch many years ago. And we didn't really care about the trees growing in it, you know, it didn't matter. But now the trees are all leaning out on both sides, and I know it interferes with the farming and stuff. It's taking some of the farmland away because the trees go over, and the farmer doesn't want to scratch up his tractor, so he keeps going farther and farther away from it. And there's just no need for it. This is just all junk wood though. But I'll come in here, and I think next winter, and just spend like the whole winter just cleaning this right out of here and cutting this all up and everything. But you can see here I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trees out of that. I thought it was like 3 or 4. It turned out to be 9. And as you can see, I left a couple of big chunks in there and stuff. I don't know, maybe next year, because they'll just sit there and they'll just dry like that. They won't rot because they're not laying in the ground, they're just sticking up in the air. And maybe next year when they're all dried up and stuff, and I come in here, maybe I'll hack that out of there and yank it out and try to split it. Put it on the log splitter, but it's a pain in the butt to split the stuff. So now I'm going to cut all this up. Anything that has to be split, that is too big, that has to be split, I'm just going to leave in bigger chunks and just take the whole big chunk and take it up to the farm up there and just dump it in a pile and just let it sit there and dry all summer long. And next year I'll clean all this out, put it in with the pile, and then after it dries, then I may cut it all up and try to split it. But this stuff is a pain to split. So let's get started, I guess. You can see how soupy it got down here. It's just the sun beating on it. It's really getting to be a mud pit. That's why I wanted to get it all pulled up there where it's drier and still frozen. But you can see how the trees are just kind of growing out. So all this needs to come out of here. Just take it all out. There'll be a lot of firewood in here. I get it all out and everything, it's all this junk wood, but I'll cut it all up. It'll be a lot of firewood. Somebody will get some use out of it. I do have one shop, a little shop that has a wood stove in it. You can see basically right here is where the farmer plants, so we got that all cleared out. This is this is my chainsaw. It's still MS 390. It's a good size chainsaw. These things run really good. A little expensive though, but they run forever. This chainsaw actually has a story. I used to have some land up north by Townsend, and I had my seasonal camper on the land, and I built like a wood skirting around and put this this milk house plastic sheeting around it and everything, and enclosed it. And I insulated it because we go up there in the winter all the time, so I wanted to have it insulated around so the floor wouldn't get so cold. And what happened is I had that all built, and on the back of it I put a door and I put a padlock on there, and we'd store like lawn chairs and rakes and shovels and just stuff underneath there. We had a shed up there too, but you know, we used that mostly for the snowmobile storage. And I had my chainsaw underneath there. And we never had a problem with the water. And then one year we had rain, freezing, and there was this creek behind, and it got an ice dam in it, and the whole thing backed up and went up and flooded our whole camp area. It was almost up to the camper, the neighbors up there told me. They said they drove by and the water was almost up to the camper. The whole skirting was underneath water, and it was almost up to it. And we hadn't gone up there, and then somebody called me and told me this and said that your place is flooding. And I said, well, is the camper in water? And they said, well, it's not up to the camper, but your skirting is all in the water. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I started thinking about it about a week or two later, and I was like, oh, we got stuff underneath there. So then we went up there, and it froze. And the water kind of went away a little bit, but it was still froze. And it froze. I couldn't even get that back door open. And I had to bust it open, and I looked in there, and this chainsaw was actually was sitting in there, and the ice was all the way up. All you could see was about a top inch or so, and this very top handle. The rest of it was underneath the water. I couldn't get it. Was frozen ice, and you couldn't get it out of there. And so I left it, and I said, well, springtime came around, it still wouldn't melt. I mean, all the snow was gone, but it just wouldn't melt because it was protected underneath that camper, and it was like basically like an ice chest underneath there. And so I ended up busting all that milk house stuff out to get airflow underneath there. We went up a week or so later, and you could start seeing the chainsaw in there. So then I put torches underneath there and tried heating it, and the water all melted out, and I was able to punch this thing out, and I got it out. And this thing had sat underneath water for a whole, I don't know, probably about 3 to 4 months. And I thought, well, that's junk. So I brought it home, and I took a 5-gallon pail, and I filled it about half full of engine, and I took the whole thing apart, and I took just the engine, and it was completely rusted tight. The piston, everything was it. You couldn't even turn it. And I dropped it into that bucket of oil, and I just let it soak in there for about a month. And then I went in there and just started working the piston, and I just got a little bit of movement. I just kept working it and using PB Blast and soaking everything, and I just kept working it. I finally got the thing to turning over and stuff. Did not sound good and everything else. I looked in there, the piston was all scratched up. It was terrible. I just cleaned everything the best I could. Replaced a couple little parts on the clutch and everything to get that working. And I gave it a try. And the thing fired up. It runs fine. It has one bearing in there that I need to replace yet. I hear it making noise. It's like a one-way bearing that's in a shaft in there. I can hear that's making noise. It runs good and everything, but if you let it idle just for a little too long, then it just dies. And it's because the piston's worn out and scratched up and everything. Once it gets all hot and everything, then it idles okay, but for a while. That's why when you're hearing me cutting, you're constantly hearing man. I'm constantly having to keep on the throttle when I'm moving from limb to limb. Because if I just let it idle and then I take 3-4 steps over to cut another one, I hit the throttle and it goes blah. It just dies, and then I got to pull start it again. I've priced out some new ones. I'm gonna get the next size bigger, which has a you can get a 32-inch. You can get a 32-inch bar for it, and I priced that one out, and they're like $900. So I'm gonna get me one of those, and then I think I'm just gonna keep this one as a backup and stuff. And but I'm gonna get the next bigger one because that one is. I got some plans in the future and a lot of big trees and stuff, so I need a big one. So let's get on this. Well, as you guys can see, we got it all cut up. Just a couple of the bigger chunks that I'm not going to cut up right now. We're going to haul these off to the barnyard over there. We're gonna stick them down in the barnyard, just let them sit down there and dry. And when I get a bunch more wood, then I'll cut them up and split them. So that's about it. That's about it. Starting to get a little dark out here. Not really dark, it's just kind of getting dusk. And I got something in my, I was even wearing glasses too. Something just went right around my glasses and went right in my eye. But I'm gonna haul a couple of these pieces and haul them back up there and dump them in the barnyard. Then basically all I gotta do is come out here and pick up all this firewood. I'll probably I need to put a battery charger on the pickup truck. We have like a work trucker on the farm here. I know the battery's gonna be down. So I'll probably put a battery charger on it, and tomorrow I'll come out here and pick all this up. So until next time, guys, you guys have yourself a great day, great night, whatever it is for you. If it's not, we'll try that again tomorrow. See ya.